not an adult on set that should have been watching these things. Where were the adults when Corey Haim was being molested? What mom would leave her child to be open to that?
The real question is, who's responsible? It's not just to me, the studio is liable. The studio is completely liable because they have to provide a safe working environment for a minor child. There has to be a guardian or someone present that the studio is paying to monitor that person. They're usually getting schooling. So there should be the child should be protected, and if the child's not protected, I believe the studio is completely, absolutely liable. It's just like if you're going to school and you get raped at school by a teacher, the school district and the school is liable, not just the teacher. Extra effort has to be made to protect children.
Hi, this is Detective Johnson, the LAPD. This message is for Corey. I got a call from the district attorney's office. They, as you know, are unable to file your cases because of the statute of limitations.
From creating legislation. But we today can stand together in the face of this atrocity, and we can work together as one to protect the children of our future. We must preserve innocence. We must preserve the innocence of our children. And let me say one other thing. We must pass the CBA. It's time for this legislation to take hold. And remember, again,
for the vast majority of child sex abuse victims, they delay their disclosure of the abuse. And for most, it's in the 40s, going into the 50s. The median age, the middle age of the two ends of the spectrum is age 48. The average age to come forward as a sex abuse victim is age 52.
And what's the statute of limitations?
In the state of California, it's conveniently half of 52. It's 26.
California actually has the loosest statute out of all the states. We're like in the top tier. That's how scary it is. Because we just abolished it from 2017 on. It's just looking backwards that we can't bring those cases forward. So if we could roll it back, then we'd be in great shape. Then I could get justice. Then Corey could get justice. Then all the kids who've been molested in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s could get justice. But as of right now, where it stands, is anything that happens from 2017 forward, no more statute.
What he's been helping with is the statute of limitations reform. And he came out to New York, to Albany, spoke to legislators, held a press conference. He's a whistleblower. He's a classic whistleblower in a particular arena. And so he's really, really important to Child USA and also to the movement. Child USA is the nonprofit I started for the purpose of continuing what I've been doing for 20 years, which is fighting for children's rights and access to justice for the victims. I did not know about what was actually going on set until much later. I really learned mostly from Corey Feldman when he and I appeared on Dr. Oz at the end of 2017. He essentially came on TV to talk about the fact that he'd been blowing the whistle all these years. Nobody was listening. I was just so impressed with him, and he was so articulate. But he also reminded me of so many of the survivors in this movement that are shut out of court and have been treated really badly.
It happens everywhere, not just in Hollywood. Hollywood is unfortunately a playground for pedophilia.
Well, it turned out that the paradigm that we saw in Spotlight in Boston about the Boston Archdiocese, which, the news there was that the higher-ups were covering up sex abuse. We knew there was sex abuse before that, but we didn't know that men in power were actually covering up for the pedophiles. Once you saw that paradigm, then all of a sudden we could see Penn State, and then we could start seeing it everywhere. We saw it in Larry Nassar most recently. Hollywood is just another example of people in power, adults protecting themselves and their money at the expense of children.
In 2004, actor Brian Peck was convicted of sex with a child.
Let's take a short break.
Since been working as a dialogue coach on anger management.
Stay away from everybody.
Speaking to someone familiar with the show, we were told the decision to hire Brian Peck came down to Charlie Sheen himself.